I'm here to tell you guys. 3 Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to libraviews. I'm Charlene. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button before we move forward. So I'm here to talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 2, Episode 1. Okay, so this has been a highly anticipated season. We all know about the drama that's surrounding Miss Jen Shaw, fraud ass, allegedly. So we're going to get into it. So this episode opens up and the ladies are boarding the bus for what seems to be some type of girls trip, some type of road trip. And Jen gets on the bus with her braids or whatever. And all of a sudden she gets a phone call. So she's talking on the phone, and then she asked, I believe, Whitney to unplug her mic, because she didn't want to talk on the mic because it just seemed like a private call. Next thing we know, Jen exits the scene, and all of these police are, around. The police are at her house. She was officially indicted and taken off to jail. The ladies are trying to figure out what the hell is going on. They're trying to figure out who called the police. Okay. Lisa came up with a very good question. How did the cops or the feds know that Jen was there? Now, one thing I will say is that when the feds are following your ass, they usually do it for a while. And usually when they swarm in on you, it's because they pretty much know what you eat for breakfast every morning. Like, the feds have done a thorough investigation where it's not going to be hard to find you. What I do know is that when the ladies are filming, it is somewhat exclusive because you're filming a show and you want to build anticipation. So the Real Housewives franchise is not advertising where the ladies are going to be filming. So I'm kind of going back and forth with, did somebody from the group actually call the cops on Jen? Or did the feds, who, like I said, usually do very thorough investigations. I mean, once the feds are involved, like I said, they pretty much know your bathroom routine and what you wake up and eat for breakfast every morning. The feds have investigated you down. So again, I'm going back and forth with that. The feds may just have known where Jen was. They could have been following her. I mean, they just could have known. However, like I said, the Real Housewives of Atlanta is very exclusive. So, especially during filming. So maybe one of the ladies did call the cops on her. And if I were to guess one of the housewives who may have done it, I would say it was Meredith. Meredith had yet to show up at the scene. Meredith was not in that scene. And as the episode ensues, we learn that Meredith is highly pissed off at Jen, and it has something to do primarily with her family. And you know how females get when it comes to their family. So if I had to guess who called the cops, I would have said that it was Meredith. So, I guess we will see as the show goes on, but y'all let me know what y'all think. Do you think the feds already knew where she was at, or do you think that Meredith called the popo on Jen? Or let me know which housewife you think called. Do you think it was Lisa? Do you think it was Whitney? Do you think it was Heather? Who do you think it was? So let me know in the comment section down below. So clearly that clip was just a scene from what we're going to see later on in the season. So once that scene happened with Jen getting locked up, we start the season. So Jen is in her new home. She's with her second assistant, because we know that Jen, she had about 5, 6, 7 assistants, a glam squad, a beauty team, housekeeping, all of this going on. And Lisa comes over to see her new home. Jen basically said that her lease was up at her old home, which is why she relocated, and she likes her new home way better than the old one. But I'm like, girl, you was leasing that big house? She said, well, the lease was up at the other house, so we moved. And I'm like, you was leasing that big house? Or did you hurry up and sell that property because you knew your ass was about to get clocked by the feds? because my little apartment, you know what I'm saying, I rent, you know what I'm saying, but if I were to ever to get a home that big, I would get me a mortgage, build up that credit, you know what I'm saying, and then when you're done, you can sell it for a profit. But leasing that big property, it sounded a little sketchy to me, Jen. Seems as though you knew the feds was about to come knocking at your door, so you got rid of the house because you wanted to get a whole new fresh start. Jen, see, you say that you like a black person in Iowa, in Utah, you know what I'm saying, but you ain't black, you know what I'm saying, you can't, listen, I'm here with you, okay, girl, I'm here with you, Jen. So Jen starts going into her personal life, talking about how Coach Shaw wanted to get a divorce from her. Hell, bitch, I ain't even gonna lie. I'm surprised the nigga ain't been fucking divorced your ass. And I think it's mighty funny that you guys have been together for however many years, 25 to 30 years. And when this show happened, that was the breaking point of him not being able to deal with your attitude. Now, either you changed and became some bougie girl when you got on Housewives, or Coach Shaw knew that some ish was about to go down with the feds. So he was like, I'm about to distance myself from you. Like, I don't know. It just seems like it's a lot going on with Jen. And it seems like it's a lot of stuff that kind of isn't adding up. But I digress. We're going to move on. So then we start talking about Jen and Meredith. Jen basically, expresses, how, she's going at it with Meredith. And how basically she, I guess, wants to move forward or whatever. But they talked about Jen and Meredith's relationship. So then we go to the next scene, and it is Heather and Whitney. I really like Heather. I really like Whitney. Well, actually, no. Lisa then starts talking about how she felt as though Heather and Whitney kind of went really hard in her last season and created lies about her. And even though Whitney and Heather created these lies about Lisa, Meredith, who was supposed to be Lisa's, I guess, quote unquote, best friend, still decided to hang out with Heather and Whitney. So Lisa's mindset is, I'm not sure why Meredith is upset that I'm hanging out with Jen when Meredith still hangs out with Heather and Whitney very closely, and Heather and Whitney went against me like Jen went against Meredith. So it seems as though Lisa and Jen's friendship has somewhat formed out of drama and bullshit. And what I seem to find is that friendships that form unorganically or based off of, bullshit and drama, they tend not to last. So I think Lisa better keep her ducks in a row, because it seems like, I think that Lisa genuinely likes Jen and has a care for Jen, but it also seems like half of that is kind of like a revenge to Meredith, and that never ends right. Like, what does Nene say? You never win when you play dirty, so just keep that in mind, Lisa. Now we go to Meredith, okay? And Meredith is discussing, so Meredith and Heather meet. Okay, Heather has just gone skiing, because we know that Utah, Salt Lake City, it's very heavy with the snow. So Heather has just got off of, skiing, and now she meets up with Meredith. They're eating snacks and basically talking. Meredith is discussing her husband, because as we know, last season, the relationship that Meredith had with her husband seemed a little bit rocky. I'm not sure, but allegedly the way that it seemed like Meredith had her little side dude, and her husband was kind of like, what's going on. Meredith is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. So her husband was like, boo, what is you doing? But Meredith basically discussed how they had moved forward and that their relationship has gotten better, which I think is super dope. So then Heather starts talking about her daughter and how her daughter wants to go to California to go to college. And basically Heather wants her daughter to experience and basically live life. What I find, with people raising daughters, kids in general, but especially daughters, I think it's one side or the other. Usually the parent wants the daughter to, be, super, feminine and super, reserved and, save herself, and meet a man and get married and live kind of like this traditional cookie cutter lifestyle. And then you have some people that are like, I want my daughter to experience life. I want her to live. I want her to make mistakes. I want her to experience things, because when I was younger, I didn't get to do that. And that's pretty much where Heather is with it. Heather felt as though she missed out on a lot of, those younger years. And I was having a conversation with my best friend where, we talk about these couples, who, have been married for 75 and 50 and 60 years. And, they met their husband or wife when they were 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then went on to be with these people for, 20, 30, 40 years, which, when you think about it, is a true blessing to be able to build and have a life partner that's going to have your back no matter what for basically a lifetime. And that's something super dope. But on the other side of that, that person, that woman or that man that was locked into that relationship for 30, 40, 50, 60, 75 years. I knew a couple that actually was married for 75 years. The guy was 100 and the wife was 91 years old. So you have people that are married this long, but did they really get to experience life? You know what I mean? Yes, they got to experience life living with a partner and having that wavering loyalty and life partner. But did they really get to live their life? Did they really get to, hold hands with the girl that works at the ice cream parlor? You know what I mean? Did they really get to go to Vegas and have a one-night stand with a showgirl? Did they really, and not making everything sexual, because it's not just sexual, but, did you really get to take that girl's trip in college, to Florida and, go to a nude beach? Like, did you really get to experience, you may be a white guy, did you get to hook up with that black girl, that may have worked, at the laundromat down the street, and you just thought she was so sexy and beautiful and, feminine and petite, but, you were married, so you couldn't experience that. Or, if it's a woman, a black woman, did you get to have that conversation with that Asian gentleman that, works at the, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like both sides. And I think that's where Heather is. Heather is like, I want my daughter to, live her life, because I didn't get to have it. And now in my older years, I wish I did. So Heather was basically talking about that. So then we go to a scene with Whitney, and I really like Whitney. Whitney definitely, she's 34, I'm 30. I'm about to be 31. So she's about 4 years older than me. So we're kind of like in kind of the same age group. She's a little bit older than me, but Whitney seems like she's definitely just a good ass time. She's meeting up with her stepsons. They're having some type of birthday celebration. She talks about how she's starting a skincare line. I did not know. Whitney is a very pretty girl. I didn't know that Whitney suffered with skin problems, but I think it's dope that she kind of organically came up with a skin product. A lot of people actually do that, even with hair products, skin products. A lot of people, they make a lot of their own stuff at home with natural products, and I think it's dope that she's turning that into a business. I thought it was absolutely hilarious when Whitney's drunk ass, because when the stepsons first came into the scene, she's taking shots of Patron and all this shit, and now she's trying to carry this cake, okay? And I just thought it was funny. She probably dropped that cake about 4 times. And it's like, girl, give it up, okay? But I still thought it was funny that afterwards, she still brought the cake all mashed up. Like, Whitney just seems like she's a fun-ass, good-time chick. Like, I don't know if she's sneaky. I don't know all that. But partying surface level, Whitney seems like she's a good-ass time, a good girl, a good-time girl. And I'm here for it. So then we go to Mary. Okay. Mary is a goddamn joke. So Mary's basically saying how she and her husband have been separated for some months because of, COVID, obviously. It's just her and her son, and she's kind of bored. So she's been talking to herself. And when I tell you that the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City editing team went to different scenes of Mary talking to herself, when I said I absolutely lost it. And let me tell you something that I respect about Mary. There's a lot of people that try to act like they something that they not. It's a lot of people that do that. And I'm even guilty of it. Not a whole goddamn lot, bitch. I'm not an actor. Okay, I'm not Will Smith. I'm not Taraji, bitch. I'm not an actor. So I don't really do that too much. But sometimes, people try to act like something that they not, especially when they're on TV. They try to act like they this, or try to act like they not. And one thing I know about Mary does not give off that energy. Miss Thing will talk to herself on national TV. And I'm really not mad at it because a lot of us do that. But one thing I respect about that Mary, that bitch ain't scared to be her motherfucking self. And I'm here for it. You go, girl. So then we learned that Mary had started a podcast. I think it was cool that Mary admitted that, she smoked a little ganja. Church people ain't perfect. Christian people ain't perfect. Jesus was tempted in every which way as man was. So, I think it's dope that Mary is, even though she's a preacher, I'm not here to speak on her doctrine. But what I'm here to say is that I think it's dope because some people, religious people, try to act like they just so holier than thou. They ain't never done nothing. And Mary said, I smoked a joint. Well, she said, "What you call a tree?" I smoked a tree. I'm cool. I'm here for that, Mary. So then we meet Jenny. So Jenny is the new housewife. The energy that Jenny was giving off, I like Jenny. She seems like she's outspoken. I love her husband. She said that her husband was ugly. I thought he was a decent looking little Asian man. He looked like he had a little height to him, a little body to him. You know what I'm saying? So, I ain't mad at, her husband, but she said that he thought, he was a goof. But, we learned that, Jenny had a very interesting story. We learned that Jenny, came over here from Vietnam on a boat, literally. The boat was intercepted by, I believe, terrorists. And then she was I guess, kind of rescued by, a United States Christian organization and then brought over here out of that, rescue camp. She said that when she came over to the United States that her dad changed her age so that she would be 2 years younger, so that she can start school and kindergarten like the rest of the kids and not be kind of behind in a way. I think it's dope that Jenny is willing to tell that side. And I think we need to hear stories like that because I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Hawaiian, Southeastern Asian. When you're in America, we do live, America is not perfect. I ain't, trust me, I'll be here. I'll be here to talk about black issues, systematic racism in a minute. But at the end of the day, the United States is the best country to live in. And when you hear stories of like Jenny, who as a child had to come over here basically and escape the Asian country that she came from. And while her and her family were doing so, they actually got intercepted by a terrorist group and had to be re-rescued by a United States Christian organization. And, I think a lot of people don't understand, the things that people go through in other countries to get to the United States. They don't live in the most ideal countries. And, Jenny also said that, sometimes, families would be underwater, not literally underwater, but in, certain tanks underwater while they're trying to escape to the United States for days at a time. So I think it was really dope that Jenny was opening up about that. Her family seems like it's a good family. We know that Jenny and Lisa are close friends because their sons are close. They met when they both were pregnant. Lisa's like, we both had, the best bags. Lisa's the New Yorker, so she's all about her fashion, her bags, her shoes, And, I really was feeling Jenny's energy. So I guess we can see what Jenny is going to be giving later on in the seasons. So Mary, Whitney, Meredith, and Heather meet for lunch. And basically they're talking about Jen. That's basically the meat and potatoes of it. They're talking about Jen. Heather was talking about how she was pissed off at Jen because Jen called Heather a racist. I don't know any of these ladies, but does Heather give off racist energy? No. She even said she like black men. Now, before y'all eat me up, I do know that it's very possible for somebody to date a black person, a black woman, or a black man and still be goddamn prejudiced, whitewashed as hell. So I get that. But do I get those vibes of Heather? No, I do not think that Heather is racist. But Heather expressed how she was upset that Jen called her out on that. Meredith starts talking about Jen and Jen posting homophobic comments about Brooks. Excuse me. Now, is it out of line for Jen to be talking about her friend's child? Yes. However, Brooks is a grown man. He's not an underage kid. He is over age. And I believe that if your child is on the show making comments snarkily about someone else, they have every right to say what they say. Now, making homophobic comments and coming at, no, that was wrong. You know, you shouldn't be calling them a twink and all this other stuff. However, Berkson said to himself when he was like, oh, you know, Jen, she's just so, oh my God, and she's flipping her leg up and, you know, showing her vagina, and it was disgusting, and you know what I mean? And though it wasn't too bad, you're speaking on Jen. And from what I understand, I think Jen thought that she had a really good relationship with her kids and had a good relationship with Meredith. So I guess seeing that for Jen was kind of like, oh, okay, well, since we're talking about legs and vaginas, let's talk about this. So do I think it's right for Jen to go? I think Jen should have called Meredith and had a conversation with Meredith and her son about that situation. But I do see how Jen could be like, nigga, you spoke on me, you know, I'm speaking on you now. But if they were really friends, Jen should have pulled them to the side. But that's basically what they were talking about at the lunch. So then they start talking about Lisa and Jen being friends, even though Meredith and Lisa are cool. I talked about that before. You know, Whitney was kind of like, you know, would Lisa still be friends with somebody that talked about her kids? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to see how that unfolds. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Lisa and Meredith, but it seems like it's a lot of petty tit for tat stuff going on with who's hanging out with who and who can be friends with who. So I guess we'll get into that. So Meredith has an event for her dad because, as we learned, Meredith's dad passed away. He was Jewish, so they invited Lisa over and her family so they can kind of have like a Jewish tribute to her dad. Meredith was obviously very emotional. She said that she was very close with her dad. Her dad was a big supporter of hers, and it's hard to kind of lay him to rest. But when Lisa came, I'm gonna lie, it seemed a little awkward. You know, it seemed a little awkward between Lisa and Meredith. You can tell that there was some unfinished business kind of floating in the air. And at the end of the episode, they began to talk about Lisa and Meredith and Jen and what they discussed at the lunch. And Meredith is basically going off. You know, Lisa's kind of trying to be the middleman, is kind of talking to Meredith like, you know, are you willing to sit down with Jen? Are you willing to, you know, hear her apology? And Meredith just seems like she's just worked up about the whole situation with Jen. She's like, you know, she talked about my family. She talked about my kids. You know, she needs to apologize to my family. I'm not, you know, whatever. It seems like Meredith is highly pissed off at Jen. Highly pissed off at Jen. It seems as though Meredith is more pissed off at Jen than Lisa is pissed off at Whitney and Heather. So they kind of go at it about that. Lisa's just kind of like, listen, I think you guys should sit down. So we shall see, child. Listen, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is getting what needs to be gave. I'm here for it. I really think that the season is going to be dope. but before we get out of here, if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you like this video. And until next time, deuces.